I'll try to be very brief because I want to leave some space for Ricardo Bocci and for Frederick Ray. So I'll just give you an update on the activities that has been planned and the progress in Work Package 4. Just to refresh your memory, Work Package 4, the aim is to lower the socio-economic and legal hurdles to organic seed production and organic plant breeding. The work package is divided in two tasks, Task 4.1, which I'm responsible for, and Task 4.2, which is Ricardo Bocci. There are three main activities planned in Task 4.1, and one is case studies by different partner countries on the production chains for organic seed production, and then there's a workshop plan. It has been postponed to 2015. It's a workshop on organizational and financial models for organic plant breeding, and there will also be a presentation of the case studies by the different partners. And the last one is an inventory of alternative breeding initiatives. And in Task 4.2 there are also three main activities. One is the identification and discussions of the needs in the regulatory framework. And this is performed through meetings and through a questionnaire that Frederick will tell you more about. And then there's research on the constraints of seed laws and regulation procedures. And the last one is a country-based report on legal constraints and opportunities. Just very brief, you can look at this at the website if you're interested, but this is the milestones they have been accomplished, and there are two deliverables for each task. And I won't go into details here because I want to try to be brief. Progress in the different tasks. The first activity was the case studies, and there are case studies going on in 5 different countries. And they're all in progress at different stages with data collection and questionnaires. And at the University of Udine in Italy, they're doing 2 case studies, one on resources and bottlenecks within the organic soybean production in Italy. And I know that Fabiano Micelli is here, and he has got a poster on their organic soybean trials, and if you are more interested in the studies, you can approach him later. And they have also been doing trials with, I think, 112 lines of naked barley, and as a supplement, they will do a chain analysis on food barley. And then there is in Slovenia case studies done by Institute of Sustainable Development. They have been doing a status quo analysis of the organic breeding and seed production in the country. And the situation is that there's only one small company doing a small amount of organic seed production for vegetable production. And the next step will be to make an in-depth analysis of the obstacles for organic breeding and the opportunities. And this is mostly in wheat and common beans, these case studies. Then the Organic Research Center are doing case studies on the misuse of organic seed irrigations. And they will also deal with issues regarding high amounts of imported wheat grown in countries like Kazakhstan. And at the Knowledge Center for Agriculture in Denmark, we're doing a case study on quality parameters such as wheat competitiveness in spring barley, and see how it can be embedded in the local breeding schemes. And we'll also do a case study on baking quality in wheat, looking to barriers and drivers in the process chain. And then the Turkish partner, she's here, Alif Kir, are doing a case study on the possibilities for a setup of organic variety trials in Turkey. And she's been collecting statistical data, and the data show that the organic area in Turkey is going downwards, unfortunately. And then I'll continue to the workshop. As mentioned, it has been postponed to 2015, and we would like to tie it to another event. So if you know of some events that could be used for this purpose as well, please let us know. And yeah, I think I won't say anything else to this. And then there'll be this inventory of alternative breeding initiatives, and data is being collected, and you as partners will receive some questions during the autumn about alternative breeding initiatives in your country. And then for task 4.2, I will not say anything about the survey because Fred will say this. And there has been several meetings, including workshops with DG Sanko, and there's been a legislative workshop in Brussels in October with DCOPB. And I'll just briefly mention the country-based report. The Norwegian partner, Regina Andersen, she's writing the Norwegian contribution, and she's summing up the facts about organic production and plant breeding, and the Norwegian commitments against toward the plant treaty, UPOV and EU, and the political development and present legislation with regard to plant breeding, variety releasing, and seed marketing. And, yeah. That's basically it, and I'll let Ricardo talk about the recent developments in the legislation, and what happens next since rejection of the seed legislation. And I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Just
on the bottom. G. Yeah.
G? No, that's not mine.
Here, just refresh it.
Okay.
There you go.
Fine. So, thank you. I've just prepared some slides, but the first one we can just go and then start discussion about seed marketing and what's going on. So the idea is just to present to all of you what's going on in Europe in the last 2-3 months after the rejection from the Parliament, and then maybe to know from you what's going on at national level with regard to the new experimentation about heterogeneous material. So if you would like to participate in this European experimentation or not. So as you know, last year the Commission prepared the proposal for the new seed regulation in Europe about plant propagating material, and this year on February the Agricultural Committee suggested the rejection of this proposal, and the Parliament in March rejected the proposal. So with a lot of parliamentarians voted against. So if I remember well, it was 650 against 15, something like that. So all the parliamentarians, they rejected the proposal from different reasons, but they were all together to reject the proposal. So at the end, the problem is how the proposal can go further, how to improve, to change the proposal. And so after the rejection, there were 4 possibilities. The first one was to end all the discussion about biocide laws in Europe, accept the rejection by the Parliament, and it was not accepted by the DG Sanco, this proposal, because they would like to continue with a new regulation on seeds. And the second possibility was to wait the new Parliament, the new Commission, and then start again a new discussion about seed regulation. The third one was to use the working party within the DG Sanco and the committee with member states in order to change the old proposals with suggestions from member states. So improve the proposal and try to have a new one taking into account all the difficulties that member states saw in the past. And the third proposal, the last proposal of possibilities was to amend the original proposal by the Commission by the DG Sanco itself. So try to have a new one done by DG Sanco. But at the moment we are in the third case. So the Council and the working group, they met member states and they are discussing some changes to the Commission proposal. And they are mainly dealing with 4 items. The first one is the scope of the proposal, the simplification. The second one is the aspect related to implementing act. Third one, cost recovery. And the last one regards harmonization and cost and reduction of administrative partner. So, for the first item, all the member states agree that forest material should be off of the proposal. So the new proposal will deal with agricultural species, but not with forest, as it was in the past. Second, the idea to have one regulation instead of 12 directives is fine, but it's impossible to have all the species, all the different types of varieties in the same regulation without, any differentiation. So the idea of one size fits all, member states, they don't like it, and they prefer to have maybe within the same regulation but different chapters or different parts for different type of varieties. So there is a need to well define professional and non-professional users, and there is, according to member states, the need to have changes for biodiversity, niche market, the gardeners in the new proposal. So regarding implementing a delegated act, the position of member states is that in the Commission proposals there were too many implementing acts. So a lot of the things were still not resolved in the regulation, but demanded to further implementing a delegated act. So the idea is to have, in this case, annexes in the regulation that can deal with species for VCU and all the stuff. But the idea is to have in the basic act all the information needed for the new regulation.
What is
No.
PRM?
Plant reproductive material.
Okay.
So single regulation, different chapters. For example, one chapter for niche market, another for heterogeneous material, and so on. With annexes and not so many things not resolved and waiting for delegated or implemented act, as it was in the Commission proposal. Then, regarding cost recovery, all the member states, they don't agree the idea of the Commission to have a specific exemption for small and micro enterprises. So that's not more discussion, but they agree that they have to find new way to reduce the cost for non-professional user, niche market, organic market, and so on. So not a general exemption, but specific exemptions for some specific varieties of market. Not general for all the small and micro enterprise, because the idea of member states is that we have too many of our seed companies that are small and micro enterprises. So that's the general feeling of member states. So also in order to prevent any abuse of this exemption. So according to my knowledge, they are discussing these things, and there will be a next working group at the middle of July, 15th of July. So maybe we can have more information after the event, 15th of July. Regarding the last point, all the member states agree to have a certification of the legislation that we have in place now, to reduce the cost, to have the idea of one key and several doors for this DUS testing and also plant varieties testing, so that's fine. To have a kind of harmonization among the countries in Europe, to have the same rules, cost, and so on for testing. They agree to have only one VCU and not two, as proposed by the Commission. The sustainable, the satisfactory VCU. And they also are talking about, I don't know what it is, but a participatory VCU testing. Participatory. You can find this participatory VCU testing in the wording. But I don't know what it is. And then they ask for a positive definition of heterogeneous material. So they are saying that there is not yet a clear definition of what it is a heterogeneous material. They are asking for a more clear definition about heterogeneous material population. And we have a kind of clear definition of heterogeneous material in this decision of the Commission. I don't know if you know this decision, but it's important for us because it's dealing with the population and the idea of marketing population. And according to this commission decision, the population are can belong to these three categories. One is crossing 5 or more varieties in coordination, and bulking, and so on. The second category belongs to population that are growing together at least 5 varieties, and so on. And then intercrossing varieties using crossing protocols. So at the moment, for the EU Commission, if you are talking about population, you have to refer to these three categories. And then you can sell it, the seed of these three categories.
In all EU countries?
Yes, in all, but your country, they have to ask for this derogation. So in all EU countries possible, but your country had to participate to this project in some way.
They already are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to identify the population. At the moment, the ideas are that varieties, you have to describe the varieties using the crossing, you have to describe the breeding schemes, you have to describe the region of production, degree of heterogeneity, and the characteristics of the variety, of the population, sorry.
How should the degree of heterogeneity be described when you are down the road in many generations?
I don't know, but that's why I put this slide at the end, would like to start a discussion with you about this proposal. In order to know what... please, Bruce.
Our government seems to have a fairly light touch on it, and we have to describe what the breeding approach is and where we are with it. Probably get involved as well, but actually
I was just going to open it up.
the degree of heterogeneity is... we have that from experiment, and that's basically what we'll present, and we've had, because it's gone through Soliban and other projects, that's what we've presented, but they're very clear it's a very light touch.
So it's morphological, not molecular.
We have a little bit molecular, but they're feeling their way as well, and unusual for the UK, they are interpreting these regulations in the light touch.
And they are coordinating the entire experiment across Europe as well. So it all goes through the UK in the end. So it may be that they can influence decisions by other nations as well if they're interpreting it in a light touch fashion. It may be that they can help.
But then how do you describe heterogeneity or the degree of heterogeneity?
Sorry?
How do you describe the degree of heterogeneity? I mean, what?
But I think it's actually not only a derogation, it's kind of a research, it's kind of a case study really.
Yeah.
The purpose of the derogation is to find out how to describe it. So there may be some ideas there how to do it, but it's actually the purpose of the derogation is to find out how to describe it. So there need to be some flexibility.
And the one part that didn't come up on that Ricardo hadn't shown is actually also it can only be 1% or 5% of the total seed of that species sold. It is a very low level, so it's within regulation. It is only ever going to be a very minor element of it.
But you could have 50 populations and then you can 50% of the total.
No.
Huh?
They thought
Yes.
about that.
Yes. No, this is how the Dutch authorities think about it. It's
The
zero.
total amount of seeds sold can only be a small proportion.
Yeah,
How
but
the
each
Dutch?
population separate.
Yeah, each population separately. That's how the Dutch authorities understand it. So if you have 50 populations, then it's 50 times 0.1%. You have 5% of the total market. So apparently, then.
If you read the Article 12 that is dealing with restrictions, they are saying that the quantities of seed marketable, the authorized population, not populations, for each species, for each member state per year shall not exceed 0.1% of the seed of the same species produced in the year in the member state.
So that means you would need 1,000 populations to get 100%.
No, apparently not, because the species is in there.
That's for these species.
Yeah, but it's saying the quantity of seed of authorized population,
Yeah.
not populations.
Yes. So if you have
So it
multiple
means if
populations,
you have more populations, you for each population should be 0.1. But I don't know. For example, for us in Italy, that's not a matter.
No,
We are below.
it's not relevant at the moment because
In
nobody
the moment it's not relevant.
and also it includes conventional varieties sold. So
Yeah.
it means if for example you have 100,000 hectares, or well, that's the case for the Netherlands, then organic is only a very small portion of that. So then they calculate the 0.1% on the total of 100,000 hectares. So for organic, it's not at this stage. It's not really an issue, and it's part of the experiment. So that should also change in future after 2018.
So I think that for us in Italy, maybe we can try next year to participate, but this year not.
We won't market the chart. I have a talk I'll do tomorrow, Wednesday morning.
Yes.
We have seed in the ground, we're bulking up, and we're sort of on site at the moment. It will go to a few sites.
Yeah, about 3 sites
Three
probably.
sites this year. We will market it in autumn 2015 because we need that critical mass of seed
Yeah.
to get it moving. We will do the publicity next year at our trade shows and through our partners. Yeah, but we've already got
Yeah.
we have approved.
Yeah. And this experiment will end at end of 2016, I think.
Sorry?
2018.
2018. Yeah.
I think.
But it can be prolonged for another 7 years if there is no new seed legislation at the time.
I think it will be difficult. Please.
Ricardo, can you comment on what I'm not so much into all these details on the regulations and why was it good or bad that the Commission proposal was rejected and where do we want to go? Just to fill us in who maybe cannot follow this in all details.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think that the DG Sanco, they didn't prepare well the proposal because it's stupid after 7 years of work to have the proposal rejected by all the parliamentarians, by all the political groups, by all the member states. So it's strange.
Was the proposal so bad?
Yes.
The proposal, yeah, in some way was so bad, but with also many new things.
The only people I knew who liked it were the big arrow people, because it made no difference to them at all.
So it was really for the big companies.
But
But how come the parliament, so few of the parliamentarians were bought by the big companies?
But if you look at the rejection, at the motivation of the rejection, you find in some way opposite motivation. So you can find parliamentarians that say, I reject the proposal because it's too open for biodiversity and population, and it will destroy the normal markets.
The French position.
And in the other side, you can have people from green parties saying, no, that's proposal, it's for big companies that will destroy diversity.
We showed what a terrible regulation it was. I was at our government meetings, and it was shocking how there wasn't. I was there with party nursery stock producers, flower producers, cereals, arable, organic, horticulture, and no one liked it. And therefore I had to stand there and defend it, if you like, knowing that it was a really bad regulation.
No, DEFRA really worked on it also.
They were very.
interacting with you guys.
They worked very hard on it, and were really they took on board the industry's comments on it. And our major issue on the organic side was particularly for the horticulture, because we kept falling between stools. They were too big to fit into a very small area, but too small. And so what may happen was that not only do they have to meet this regulation, but also the organic seed regulation. And they were worried then that they would be very restricted on varieties.
Yeah, but I think that we need to discuss further this issue, because also within the organic movements we had different positions, because it depends also on countries. For example, they suggested to have exemption for micro enterprise that less than was 10 people, employees, and 1 million euro turnover. 2 million euro. So for us in Italy it was a good exemption, because we have small seed companies that are very below this threshold, but for organic companies for the north was not enough. So we didn't find a common position about this issue of how to define small. Yeah. And
Do I understand correctly now that the Commission can say, okay, we just submit it again and then we decide on it? Or I didn't quite get that.
no, I think that the idea is try to be more inclusive with member states in order to have a new proposal that can have not all, but a lot of suggestions by member states in order to change it, the old one, to be more acceptable for them.
Sorry, can we move on, because otherwise
But
we're not
yes,
gonna
sorry,
get done.
we have just
Yeah.
3 more slides from Fred.
Yeah,
of
no,
the
that's
question.
fine. No problem.
Does it work?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just so there was actually two surveys. So one was So I start from the beginning, sorry. Last October 2013, there was an EcoPB workshop dealing with the organic seed regulation and how this regulation is implemented in Europe, in the different countries. So there was a first survey to better know how this organic seed regulation is implemented in each country. And so there was many discussions during the workshop, and there is a report still not published yet. Sorry?
It will be published.
It will be published very soon, so with all the results. I will just give you very small information regarding another survey dedicated to seed companies to better understand what are their feeling, what are their expectations regarding organic seed production and organic breeding. So I won't present you the results now, but I made a poster which is on the other room, and so you can have a look at the results. So just so there were 36 contributions, which is not so good but not too bad also, because it concerns seed companies that are involved in the organic seed production, not dedicated only to organic seed production, but producing organic seeds. And there was 11 coming from UK and 8 from France and so on. So it doesn't mean that there are more seed companies producing organic seeds in UK, but it means that there was a better support of the survey in this country through the COBRA project. It's also part of Solibam, and there was also this EcoPB workshop support from EcoPB members. So just to give you where the results come from, these seed companies are involved in the vegetable, cereals and legumes sector. So this is the number of contributions. And here you can see that for some of them, for 7, they are only producing organic seeds. 9 organic seeds are less than 10% of their seed range. And so we have quite a well-balanced situation of the contribution. And as I said, you can read the results in the poster in the other room, because I don't have time to present it right now.
Great, thanks very much.
Okay, and there will be also the EcoPB report soon published on the website. Thank you.
Yeah, so the poster should be up around by lunchtime. I think there's. Have you been poster up already?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are others. Are you coming in? So we'll move on to work package 3. Have you put it on here, or have you put it there? Okay. Awesome.
Dann, genau.
So I'm referring to work package 3, improving breeding efficiency. And the aim of this work package is mainly to keep the work with populations more flexible. This means not rely only on natural selection and adaptation, but also to introduce the possibility to supplement this by artificial selection, and to improve the possibilities to introduce foreign
genetic material, not just by genetic recombination, as well as the horizontal flow from this means establishment of networks, and finally also further develop breeding methods for participatory plant breeding. We have 4 tasks in this work package. One is improving breeding methodology and strategies in wheat. Then we have another, evolutionary participatory and marker-assisted selection for grain legumes. Then we have another on phenotyping methods. This means aiding selection by non-destructive and fast methods for determining traits of varieties or lines. And then another is comprises strategies to increase diversity in populations. Task 3.1 is one of the largest, and to improve breeding methodologies, the main important thing in population is to improve mass selection. There are different approaches that are followed here. One is selection on the level of the seeds. It means single seed selection. Then we could go further, and instead of selecting seeds, we can select single plants in the field. Then marker assisting selection, of course. Then dynamic management, this is natural selection, and finally recurrent selection, which combines some of this. So, the first of these tasks, it is on single seed selection, which is done by Agrologica and ORC. This is the state of the art of September, I think, more or less we are still here. This means they have tried to, so it means the selection on phenotypical level was efficient. There were some problems with efficiency on genetic because heritability is obviously low. I don't know if there are now newer results which are more encouraging.
I have a presentation on that in the afternoon.
So then another task was selection at single plant level. It means in order to be able to select among many genotypes instead of plots, we have single plants which are spaced, so in a way that there is no interaction among them, and then selection should be done based on, for example, yields, protein contents, or visual assessments done on the single plant. This has been proposed by other groups before. We don't know if this is really efficient for our purposes, but it's the only possibility which we have if we want to make a selection among many lines or genotypes. This is what it looks like. We did it last year in Technical University and also this year. It is not difficult to plant them and also to harvest them, but the processing requires a lot of work. We had also some shortage of personnel in this winter, so we just finished processing the material from last year. Now we will have because we have thousands of single plants, and we are counting not only determining the yield, but we are also counting the tillers and comparing the size of the secondary tillers with that of the main tillers and so on. Because we want not only to try out this type of selection, but also to describe it a bit more. So then we have another task, which is because if we select single lines and we want to use them in a mixture, we should know how the performance of an isolated line relates to that in a mixture. So we established a set of test mixtures to see this. No? Maybe the model is maybe a bit like general and special general and combining ability and special interactions, a bit like in genetic combination. Maybe we are looking for similar effects in mixtures. We have done this last year and also this year, and the evaluation will follow now. So, in task 1313, set on genetic markers, this is done by the Technical University, Danish Technical University. This was the state of the art of autumn. I don't know if there are no new results or something. There should be now
quite a few papers already out. I mean, so I think a lot of this is already.
We are writing actually papers, so I don't know. There's nobody here from this part, no?
No, I mean, Regis sent me some overheads for my part, so, but it's vacation time in Denmark, so.
Okay. Then we had another task on dynamic management. Also, we had also a part of them. This means we had now for 3 years evolving a composite cross population, which derives from the yield quality composite cross of ORC, and it is evolving with and without competition by a subglobal living march. This is now for 3 years. We are currently making the first evaluation trial, just comparing yields. We will make another next year, but this trial requires more time, and we are now continuing it within another project. So it's just an intermediate evaluation. So, especially the population in Italy is only for 2 years because the first year failed. So I think we will not expect too much this year. No? Anyway, the program is continuing. So then one of the major problems when making a selection of a population by mass selection, or maybe also by single blend selection, and if we want to turn this into recurrent selection, this means having recombination after the selection. We need, for the self-pollinated crops, a method to make mass crosses, because if we have 100 or 200 variety lines, we cannot make manual crosses or diallelic crosses of all of them. It becomes too much. So this means that we have to look for alternatives, and one of the possibilities we now are exploring is to use xenia marker for this. No? We have varieties with a blue alluron. This means the grains appear blue, and if a plant without this gene is pollinated by a pollen containing the blue gene, it will be immediately visible. So we can pick out the blue grains of the spikes, and then we have F1 hybrids. So this is basically the idea, and so the selection method should look like this. We have in the first step rows of pure lines without the blue grain gene, alternated with rows which contain the blue gene. Then we will harvest only the white ones and pick out the blue grains. This will be the F1 hybrid. So if the outcrossing rate is sufficiently high, this is also the idea. And then in the second step, we will make a selection. We will try it with our single plant selection. Then we will harvest the selected lines, which here appear in black. Then we will separate blue from white grains, and the same process starts again. So this would be a simple method to have a recurrent selection with an improved mass selection.
But you will only be able to cross with senior varieties.
Yes, but this doesn't matter because if we select then only the white grains, the blue gene will not be more present.
No, but you still have the traits of the blue grain varieties. You're not able, and since we have no adapted blue grain varieties,
this is the problem. No?
you cannot cross between two. There will be no crossing between adapted varieties.
This is true, and that's why we have to introduce this character into adapted varieties, and what we are actually doing now is another task of this program. No? So maybe I can anticipate we are establishing composite crosses among German varieties, and we have also crosses with the blue allural marker. Then this will be the start of a backcrossing program to introduce the blue gene into adapted varieties. No? Okay. So we have several things to do. One is to establish the population with a blue gene. No? Then we have to try if this system works in practice. So in this year we had established test plots. So last year we had only little seed, we did it in the greenhouse. We were not very successful. Now we have a population with high diversity. The plants also flowering time a bit different. And we have surrounded it with two varieties containing the blue gene. Now we will harvest it and see how many xenia are in the harvested material, just to see how the outcrossing rate is, and also yes, if this is feasible, no? At least fun. Then
Will you harvest the HD population by row or the whole plot?
now we have only the ED population.
Yeah, but I mean you have the rows that are directly neighboring the Luron varieties, and you have then the inner rows.
The inner rows will be harvested separately, no?
Yeah, so you will have the outer rows separately from the inner rows.
Of course.
Okay.
Then we have to be very careful. We have thresh spike by spike to see if there's xenia. No? Otherwise, it could be also an error or something. No? Okay. So this for. So then we promised also in these 3 years to carry out one cycle at least of recurrent selection. And we have now a test population which is derived from crosses among adapted varieties with blue grain. And we are now in the F2, and we have planted them as single plants. No? We are now carrying out a selection in the field, and the selected plants will be threshed, and then we will separate blue and white strains. And as it looks now, the flowering time is similar now of all of the plants. And this was the problem in the years before. No? I hope that blue grain is not associated with earlier flowering, so in this case we will not be very happy with this method. And then we make a selection for protein quality and for not quality, protein content and yield in the summer, and then we separate blue and white grains. We will try to do the recombination. This means instead in the feed, but in this part we will try to make it in the greenhouse, because we are working with summer wheat, so in the next spring we will already be ready for the next selection cycle. So then is another task which is done in Italy, and it's not very closely related to our part. And I think the experimental part is started just in 2013. So I think there will be little or no results still, because I suppose you have harvested your material and it's still waiting to be evaluated.
Yeah, we just finished harvesting a couple of weeks ago, but we had basically followed what was planned. So we had this group of raised recombinant imprint lines from single to descent, which were evaluated and to be compared with a group of lines from descent crosses, which were subjected to evolution and selection, both under cold conditions and under drought in our artificial environment. So that was the first task. And the second, well, sub-task. The second was to compare the, and that was the approach of participatory plant breeding, was to compare the selections and the scores and the selections made by farmers versus those made by breeders. So we gathered farmers, thanks to FlyHub in two locations in Italy, again in northern Italy, in Lodi, in Perugia and central Italy, and we had these two groups looking at these lines. Altogether there were about 360 lines, so a large set of germplasm, and we will analyze to see which were the priorities of selection for the two groups, and next year we will reduce the number but have the actual comparison between the best material selected from either group and possibly something selected across. So that will be the main goal for next year. And besides this phenotyping work will be joined with the genotyping work in a different project. It was planned to have only about 380 SNPs in the project, because at that time that was the number which was available, but nowadays we hope that by a different approach, genotype by sequencing, which is being developed in P, we will have many more markers, so it will be a much better comparison of the genotyping and the phenotyping. So we have finished the first year, and we will repeat again next year. We have an autumn sowing, so in 2014, in November, we will sow the second trial, both in Lodi and Perugia.
Okay. Then there was another task for us, which are phenotyping methods. My institute is this is one of the main focuses, so we are doing a lot of work on this, and we have now submitted it, or trying to submit 2 papers comparing spectral sensing versus image analysis for ground cover and also for characteristics related to leaf color. So I think this task is more or less fulfilled now, and yes, the work shows that there is some possibility, but also a lot of limits of this. And so I will not present results in detail because I'm so interested. So then there was another task which is rather large and maybe one of the most difficult, was the strategies to increase diversity in populations. And yes, the basic idea, at least of the work of us, is to have a set of populations with different genetic diversity and different degree of adaptation. No? So we have one basic population which contains a lot of not adapted material, and which consequently will have also a relatively high performance. And then we have a top population which is well adapted to the environment and also relatively highly performing. and we have an intermediate one. And there will be a continuous flow of material, firstly from outside to the basic population. So it means we can, in any year, some foreign material is introduced in the population. Then each population, there should be an improvement, which can be only by dynamic management or by recurrent selection, as I have described before. And a part of the material, which seems to be particularly promising, will be shifting to the next pool. No? So we have a concentration of, and also in the next pool there will be, it's important that there is genetic recombination within the pools. No? So that in this way, in the long term, we might have an accumulation of beneficial foreign genes in the population. No? Then maybe the top population could be the basis for line breeding. We also use this as it is. And also maybe the intermediate population could be also adapted for extensive cropping system. No? Depends. So this was the idea. What we did is now to, because we have only 3 years, so we can just, in these 3 years, we can just establish the basic populations and hope that we will have other funding to continue. No? What we did is to, firstly, I can start with the base, with the top population. No? Because what we need is something like a composite cross. And what our intention was to establish a composite cross with well-adapted varieties for Germany and surrounding countries. This means Switzerland, Austria, France also there, yes. And to begin with a relatively high level, because the problem with composite processes is that they can adapt and maybe they improve also, but they start with a relatively low level, or very often they start with a low level, and so they will be always a bit below the level of the varieties. So our intention was now to have to select well-established varieties, but on the same time also to have some genetic diversity and to establish composite crosses with them. And this is what we did last year, and now we finished this year with all the crosses. Of course, there's a lot of manual crosses. We have spring weeds and also winter weeds. So we have theoretically different populations. One is only the spring weeds, only the winter weeds, and of course also the combinations of both. And then we made also crosses with urine markers. This is the beginning of a backcrossing program, or something like a backcrossing program. And so we have Sebester W3, which is the spring wheat, Schermat, Blaukörniger Sommerweizen, which is also a spring wheat, and then we have Schermat Blaukörniger Winterweizen, which is the winter wheat. No? So this is the basis, and now, of course, we should